recording. Start recording the mixer in 5, 4, 3.
Y'all, listen. If there is one thing I've learned, adversity does not build character. Adversity reveals character. I'm Barbie Bassett, and I invite you to join me and my friends, Therese, Apel, and Traci Lee, as we peel back those adversity layers to see what else is revealed. Y'all, listen here. This is our 10th episode. Can you believe it, girls?
I can't. No. Can't
Did we
believe
think that we would make it this far?
I think I assumed that we would, but like now that we're here, it's like, wow, that happened.
And to think about that this started in mid-July. Hard to believe.
After talking about it for about, a year?
At least a year.
Yeah.
At least a year. Y'all, listen here. Welcome to our 10th episode. I've got my dear friends, Therese, Apel here from Dark Horse Press.
Hi, guys. That's me.
Hey, looking lovely in that blue. Oh, look at your earrings. Can we get some applause for the earrings, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
Christmas.
Love,
Yes.
love.
This one's flipped. I can't tell which one's flipped around, but they're supposed to have peppermints on them.
Those
Yeah.
are super
So
cute.
cute.
Yeah.
So festive.
Thank you.
And then we've got Traci Lee here with
Hi.
Traci Lee here with your U.S. Country 96.3.
Yeah.
Look at the rhinestones,
I
Trace.
did.
She is
This,
doing it.
this was my attempt at dressing up, but still being able to wear a sweatshirt.
Yeah, because the weather is about to change.
Yes,
But
yeah.
you're looking cute, looking
Thanks.
festive with that.
Thanks.
Yeah. And of all topics that we've got our man, Daniel Anderson, here with us,
That's
our
right.
producer. Daniel, say hey.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Do I hear applause?
Maybe.
I did hear
Maybe.
applause.
Guys, stop it. Please.
And the studio audience says,
Goodness gracious. You guys are too nice.
I know, but everybody loves Daniel.
That's
he
right.
is our producer with Audio Alchemy Productions. So if you are thinking about doing a podcast, give him a call. You heard the crowd roaring
Yes.
for him. That's because he knows what he's doing, even when we don't.
right.
And we don't.
We don't know what we're doing.
Do not.
Many
Most
days,
days,
we
right.
don't.
You guys are too nice. Thank you.
Uh-huh. So we were talking about our topic earlier via text, and this is the Christmas season, holiday season, and everybody is happy. Or are they? Tracy?
No, they're not. I think this time you feel like you should be, because you watch the movies, you look at the Christmas cards, the stores, everything's cheery. And then I don't know about you, but sometimes it's like you get in your car and you're like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I not feeling the joy of the season? Why am I so stressed out? I've got a million things going on. It's like the magic of the holiday gets lost in the busyness of our lives, and everything just seems to amplify this time. And then we start feeling guilty, or at least I do. Like, what am I doing? Why am I not feeling it? What is wrong with me?
Yes.
Why am I not plugging into the spirit of the Christmas season? What is going on?
Yeah. And if you're not necessarily feeling it, you're also having personal challenges, personal losses,
Yep.
like you, Therese, your dad passing away several weeks ago. I mean,
Sure.
it's a different season for you. Now you've got both parents who have passed away.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something that as the Christmas season has come, has really been evident to me, is how very special Christmas was to me because I had such a special family, because of our our traditions and that kind of thing. But one thing that I think, so I lost Dad on November 29th, which was the day after Thanksgiving. It's kind of a thing where I could choose to be depressed and sad and alone and all those things, which I assumed at the time that I would be. But at this point, it's really a weird kind of gratitude and reflection on the idea that I had this incredible family that taught me the joy of Christmas for, at risk of sounding like a Hallmark movie. But I really do feel like that.
Yeah.
So it's like in the midst of the tears that you're having, in the midst of the grief, you're also finding your heart just so full of thanks because of the experiences that you've had with your parents.
Right. Well, and I think I used to say, before I'd lost both my parents, I used to say that Christmas is entirely spoiled by the fact that when we're kids, people cater to us.
Yes.
It's all about Santa and its presents, and it's based on how we act, and it's all about like getting out of school. You don't get to have that time off as a grown up unless you are a teacher or, something like that. And so I used to always say Christmas is ruined by the fact that it's made into such a production when we're kids. Now, I mean, I've spent years away from my family at Christmas time because being a reporter, you don't really get the day off,
Right.
But it's like all of a sudden in this situation, trying to think what I'm going to do on Christmas Day, I just thought, you know what though? There's so many, gosh, don't do it. I'm going to cry. There's so many beautiful memories that I have. And there's so much about what Christmas actually means. Somebody start playing the Hallmark music in the background. I mean, I think for the first time in my life, while I've always academically known the meaning of Christmas, it's like, wow, we've got so much to be grateful for, So I just ruined our whole thing about like, what if you hate Christmas and you don't want to do it?
No. I love that. And I think that's the beauty of dealing with loss or having loss when there's hope and there's grace and there's salvation there. When I lost my grandmother, I found the same thing. It's like I thought I was going to be so sad and inconsolable. But what I found myself doing was feeling wrapped up in the way that she loved me so well that it transcended her leaving this earth. And there's something beautiful about that. And the holidays do magnify loss because there's an empty space at the table or the phone doesn't ring. But there's something so anointed about a life well lived and a faith well executed that transcends loss. And that is the beauty of the believing of the season and why we are celebrating it. That's the beauty of it.
Absolutely.
I did a Facebook Live yesterday and was asking, what are you doing this weekend? Anybody traveling and those types of things? And there were two people who had commented on there. One had said that they're just not into the season this year and they don't know why. And another person said, I can't bring myself to put the tree up. So it may not necessarily be a situation where you're grieving the loss of a loved one or you're missing someone, but it may be you're just not feeling it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason that is. I think last Christmas, it had been about 6 months since the situation.
The catastrophe.
I knew somebody was going to say
catastrophe.
something.
Yeah.
The catastrophe.
Yes.
Yes. And I think I cried the whole day. So in the midst of the kids, having the gifts and my husband cooking, I would go to the room and I would cry. And my kids would say, Mom, have you been crying? Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Everything's fine.
Everything's good. Do you like what you got for Christmas? Just constantly changing. So there are some times that it's not necessarily a loved one lost, but maybe you just don't know why you're upset.
Yeah.
And especially when you log on to social media and it seems like everybody is having so much fun with their family or their coworkers. They're taking the family pictures and all this type of stuff. And it's hard to be happy for someone else when you are not happy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It does.
Well, and I feel like, I don't know about you, Tracy, but for me, as someone who is single, my Christmases have often been influenced by my relationship status.
Yes.
So if I was in a crappy relationship or if I had just had a breakup or if I was just terminally alone, oh my God, it was like I let that affect how I felt about Christmas. And you get on there and you see the people in their matching PJs and then so-and-so's boyfriend's taking her to the Bahamas for Christmas or, this friend of yours from high school with the perfect husband is having the perfect holiday. And you just think, you know what, like this Christmas stuff is nonsense. And there are so many years that I've let that dictate how I felt about Christmas. The other big stressor for me has been work. And it wasn't, work was always a stressor, but when I started my own business, all of a sudden I worked so hard during the Christmas season trying to get all the things done that Christmas season didn't feel like it anymore.
I'm learning that there is a difference between your reality and the truth.
Yeah.
from the standpoint of the truth is the sun is always shining. The reality may be that it's cloudy where you are.
Yeah.
And sometimes the truth is different than the reality. The truth is your father passed away, your grandmother passed away, but the reality is you may still miss them, but still, love them. And you think about those memories and you relive those memories and those moments.
Well, maybe Christmas just gives us the freedom to be broken.
Yeah.
If you think about the whole purpose of Christmas, the promise, the access that the promise gave us, maybe being broken on Christmas could actually be seen as a form of worship.
Girl, this is
Because
good.
when you are broken and you go to the healer, we have access to the healer because of the gift. So maybe this is Christmas. If you are broken, for the broken and the ones rejoicing. That's the encompass of Jesus. That's what happened. He gives you the right to go to the Father, no matter your situation, because the Bible says, come as you are, not as you want to be, as you feel like you need to be, but just come as you are. And for some of us, we're fragmented, we're broken, we're hurt, we're confused. We don't know why we feel the way that we do. Maybe we don't have a reason other than it's just icky right now. I know that's kind of my situation. I don't have any reason to be sad. If you look on paper, I have none, but everything in my life feels topsy-turvy and upside down, and nothing is where it's supposed to be, and that leaves me unsettled. And I don't know how to deal with it and keep it together.
Yeah.
So you fake it and you wear sparkles on a sweatshirt and, you do the things that you feel like you need to do to just get by in public until you can be alone. But maybe that brokenness in the alone is the spirit of Christmas.
Well, and when you think about it, so I realized the very first Christmas wasn't meant to feel like Christmas.
Yeah.
Like they weren't sitting there going, yay, it's Christmas. But when you think about, okay, so Mary is a teenager and God has said, hey, by the way, you're pregnant and it's mine and he's going to be the savior of the world. And on the one hand, there's a whole lot of like, wow, I'm chosen. That's amazing that I'm sure she was going through. But there's also like, well, I'm about to start showing and I don't even have a husband yet. And then you look at Joseph, and Joseph's got to deal with the fact that his betrothed wife is pregnant and he knows it's not his.
Right.
And she says it's God and the angel says it's God, but what are we all smoking? It's like, so you've got that going on.
Wait, did you say, what are we all smoking?
Well, I mean, have you ever had those things where you're just like, what is going on right now? So I figured Joseph probably had a little bit of like, hold up a minute. What is going on?
I love that.
Keep going. So anyway, but then you go on to like, now we got to go get the taxes done. Now we got to ride this donkey across the desert for however long it takes. We get here, they're going to be like, sorry, we don't have any room, especially for this pregnant lady, this pregnant teenager. Oh, y'all aren't even married. You get to sleep in the barn. Then you get out there and there's the animals and there's a manger and all this kind of stuff. And then these strangers start showing up. And of course, this actually probably took place over a long time. Can you imagine the stress, the anger of like, are you kidding? There is nowhere in there. You hadn't got a couch for a pregnant girl. Like overall, you think about all that. We talk about the wonder of Christmas because we see the big picture. We see the angels. We see all this stuff. But as it was happening, what a disaster.
Yeah.
What a hard time of life for them.
Right. And I know the Bible does not say this. I'm 100% speculating. But don't you think that there was a point when there was no room in the inn and Mary's having to lay down with animals? She's like, is this really what's supposed to be happening?
Yeah.
Like, did I mess up somewhere? Did I do something wrong? I mean, and of course, that's just my conjecture. It's not in the Bible. It's just me thinking like I would think.
It's probably a little better than what are we smoking?
Yeah.
Kristen just said, I just spit out my coffee. What are we all smoking? That's pretty hilarious.
Well, I mean,
that is pretty funny.
there are those moments of life that you're just going, what is going on?
But along the same line of that, I had that revelation, I guess you could say, over the weekend, Sunday, when our church did our Christmas program and I was in the choir and the praise team for all that. And I just had one of these moments where it just hit me out of nowhere, where my mind started going what you were talking about, Traci, from the standpoint of, as a girl who is pregnant, carrying a baby, I began to wonder how much loneliness
Mm-hmm.
that she and Joseph must have had. I mean, I'll just be honest. When I was expecting my first, the first people that you want there at the hospital, besides your husband, is your mama
Mm-hmm.
and your daddy.
Yeah.
You know, you want them to be there because they're just as excited as you are. And I began to just have that sobriety point where I was thinking, was she sad
Yeah.
Yeah.
that here she is with this guy that she's supposed to marry, and I guess you could say had married, and her family isn't there? Is she wondering like, gosh, I wish mom was here to see this?
Well, and keep in mind, Joseph wasn't some guy. This isn't her high school sweetheart.
Right.
This is an arranged marriage. This is
Mhm.
some older dude that somebody said, by the way, that's your husband. We
Right.
got to give a couple of donkeys so he'll take care of you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and now you're going to have this baby in a barn.
So that's what I began to think about is even through the joy of the Savior coming to the world, and what a joy it obviously was. I mean, if angels are showing up declaring your arrival, what a joy it was. But sometimes the sadness, they're intertwined with the joy. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because when you think about what Christmas actually means, it's not just the birth of Christ. I mean, if he had been born and the cross had not happened,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't mean what it does. There
Yeah.
is intense, especially from the perspective that we have now, intense sadness in the idea that our Savior is being born simply to die for us because we can't hold it together.
And
'Cause
yet
we can't do
heaven
it.
rejoiced.
That's
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
And heaven, I mean, the angels who sang Glory Hallelujah,
Mhm.
they knew what he was here for.
Right.
Now, granted, we know how it turns out.
Right.
Yes.
But when you think about it, I mean, I don't believe that joy exists without a great deal of sadness.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
and I think that that's kind of what we need to allow ourselves to do, that if you are having one of these moments in your life where, yeah, Christmas is happening and I'm just not feeling it, or I just don't want to put up the tree, or I've been invited to Christmas parties and I'm not peopling very well. Y'all have those
Mhm.
moments?
Oh, yeah.
Every day.
Every day.
Mhm.
I was with someone just a few days ago and they were like, well, are you going to go to the so-and-so party? And I'd love to, but I am not peopling very well
Mhm.
right now. And we've got to give ourselves permission
Yeah.
that it's okay
Yeah.
if we're not feeling it.
Right. I think we put way too much pressure on ourselves
Yes.
because we have to do everything. It's so funny if you are a part of a church, there are only a few people that serve in that church, and they keep going back to you because you say yes. You
Yes.
know, but it's just like and then you find yourself so at the end of yourself,
Mhm.
you can't do it anymore. You know, I think sometimes the best answer is no, because it's a complete sentence.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to. You don't have to explain yourself, but you can say no, and you can kind of have that time where you're like, I need to lay in my bed and watch Chinese dramas.
And you know what? So I have to tell a story because this evening I'm going to do something that I usually go do with a particular friend, and this year we just haven't coordinated it, and there are reasons. And so I was walking by Tracy's office. I was like, "Hey, Tracy, you want to go do this thing with me tonight?" She said, "No." I was like, "Okay, awesome." But
It felt so rude to say it, though. It felt so rude to just be like, no. And I love you. I would go
Oh, I
and do
know.
anything in the world with you, but I can't do it.
sure. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I didn't even blink. I was like, "Cool." But you know what I did for you, Tracy? I
you
said
did?
instead of being like, "Hey, what you doing tonight?" Because you know that's when they get you. Because
Uh-huh.
then you're like, "Oh, nothing." They're like, "Good, I've got this
got
thing."
this.
And now you're like,
Yes.
"Oh, now I have to do it."
Yes.
But I think one of the things that I have seen, because I had a party last night that I just didn't feel like I could people through it, but I had to. You know, it was something I had to do, and I got there. And I tried to. At first, I felt all awkward, and everybody's all, "How's your dad?" And you know, "What's going on with your dad? How are you feeling?" Blah blah. And that's so awkward, and you just feel so weird. And so I just started saying, "Well, I'm here, and I'm having fun," and that
Mhm.
just became my answer. But then I started actually like doing the other thing where you focus on somebody else,
Yes.
and I started asking them questions. And what I found is in the sadness of Christmas or in the loneliness of Christmas, God gives us those opportunities to stop and be like, "Yeah, but." I mean, I can feel bad for myself, and I'm really good at that. Or potentially, I could go to somebody else that might be feeling the same way that I am.
Yeah.
and try and put the spotlight on them and make them feel better about it.
And then, of course, you've got those people that you want to throat punch too.
Of course.
We've all heard the song "The Little Drummer Boy," and we've seen the memes where you've just labored for
Yeah.
hours and you've just ridden on a donkey and had a baby, and now here comes the little drummer boy that you just want to throat punch. There
Yeah.
are those people that here, let me play you a song on my drummer.
This kid
No.
needs a drum solo.
Right. Yeah, but figuratively speaking, there are those people who you're like, if I have to see them again at another gathering, okay.
Which, to speak to the comments, Matt Phillips, that's why you were locked in the broom closet. Okay.
Yeah, Matt says he spent last Christmas locked in Therese's broom closet fighting for his
He
life.
should have put down the drums.
This is great. This is great. But having those moments of this season where some people want to be involved, but their heart isn't feeling it. And I think some people, their heart's not, they don't want to be involved at all
Yeah.
Right.
because of the memories that it may bring up for them.
Well, and I think that's okay. I mean, like if that's where you are and this isn't your way that you worship, I mean, maybe this season is something that just hurts too much. That's all right. And I think I wish there was a way to I wish you could press a button somewhere that says opt out so that we would know you're not a Christmas person. Because someone like me, I'm like, have you got your lights up yet? Oh my God, what are you going to get for Christmas? What are you going to do? What's your family doing? Are you going to cook? I'm that person, and I don't want to do that to somebody that wants to hide in the broom closet. I mean, I
Yes.
don't want to do that to somebody who this isn't their year or this isn't their holiday or something tragic happened on this day years ago and that's all they can think about.
Wow.
How do you get around that? I don't know, but I think that's where it's so important for us to focus on the intent of the season, the intent of us as Christians. If I come to you and I say something about Christmas and it's not your thing, do remember that person's just trying to be kind. For me, the hardest thing when Dad passed and leading up to it, how's your dad? Well, what do you answer that when you know he's dying? How are you? How do you say that when your dad just died? Well, I'm, but I have to stop and say, what does the heart of that person mean? And I feel like the Christmas is about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And realizing that it's not joyful for everybody.
Right.
For whatever reason. I wrote down Isaiah 53:4. It says, surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. If you think about it, Jesus carries as much of the burden as we let him.
Yeah.
And if Christmas is a burden, whatever those burdens are, whether it is, I've got 11 dozen gifts that I still need to get and I haven't even started, or I've got the family coming over, or I'm alone. Whatever that burden is, let him carry that burden. John 14:18 says, no, I will not abandon you, nor leave you as orphans in the storm. I will come to you. You're tearing up.
Yeah. When you lose both your parents, you feel like an orphan. So that
My
hit me where
husband
I
has said
lived.
that.
Okay. Not crying
So
anymore.
so
Okay.
true. So if we know that he can carry our burdens, if we know that he will not leave us as an orphan, why are we worried about how we're feeling
Yeah.
at Christmas?
So the words of "Oh Holy Night," that's
Yes.
I think that's everybody's favorite. I mean, and what I love, the part that really gets me is that first verse, and it talks about how the world lay in sin and error, pining, until he appeared, and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices. And you think about those feelings that you're just. There have been times in my life where I just thought that I don't even care. I just don't even want to go on. I mean, I'm not going to do it to myself, but I sure wouldn't mind if I got hit by a bus.
Yes.
We all have those days. And when it says a thrill of hope, you just think of that moment that Jesus came into the world, and you realize that we have that now.
Yeah.
And it's so easy because we're trapped in this reality, which, as I always say, is not real. Where
Right.
we are now, this is just a bad dream. The reality that we were talking about is that we have that moment of hope if we choose to see it. If
Yeah.
we choose to look up and see the star, well, we know he's here. And to me, as hard as Christmas can be, and as much as you're allowed to suffer in silence if you want to, or to take solace in whatever you need to, there is still the ultimate truth that, like you said, it may be cloudy here, but the sun is shining, you know?
Alfie says, if I could just let him carry my burdens.
Same, girl.
Amen.
I mean, we
Same.
have all been there and still there
Yeah.
because it is so much easier, especially when you're a type A personality. I'll handle it. I got it. I don't need anybody's help. Thanks, though. To have that mentality and to work with that mentality instead of saying, okay, laying in it at the feet of Jesus, just like those three gifts, the gold, the frankincense, and myrrh, laying it at his feet and saying, not my problem, it's yours. I can't handle it anymore.
This is a random question, and if you know, please would you put it in the comments, because I don't want to Google it. What was Moses' father-in-law's name? I want to say it was like Rufus or something strange like that. And the reason I say that is because we do feel the burden to carry the burden ourselves. If we're called to do something, we feel the burden to do it all the way through without any help. I do this in my job. I don't
You do.
let people help me because I want it done. In 1 Timothy, it talks about the setup in the church, and you have the deacons and the elders.
Yes.
The elders are there to minister to the people. The deacons are there to serve. Okay. This goes back to Moses and his father-in-law. When Moses was in the desert, he was the judge for all the people. And his father-in-law brought his wife and his children there. And he watched Moses for a day get surrounded by people. And he asked Moses, he said, why are you doing this to yourself? He said, why don't you get people that you trust, godly men, that can help you carry a burden and take the small stuff, the big stuff, they can come to you with it. And that freed him up to not only be a better leader, but also empower those under him. And I thought, as I read that this morning, that correlation, I'm like, it's Jethro. That's it.
Yep,
Thanks, Kristen.
Jethro.
That's it. But it's just such a picture of how God says you can have some help. You can have some help. This is your calling. This is what you are supposed to do. And I will surround you with people that can help you, but you have to ask them. And it was the same thing Moses did when he went to the elders. It's the same thing Timothy was talking about when he set up the church. It was the judges. Now it's the elders and the deacons. That is God's provision for us to not have to do it by ourselves. And adding things to ourselves drains us. I do not want to do Christmas. I'm just going to be honest. My family's sick. Everything's out of whack. It hurts. I don't want to think about it because this year is not like all the other years.
Yeah.
And it's just so evident that it hurts. And I'm mad. I'm mad about it. And I don't want to do it, but it's still coming. So I have to find a way. And the past couple of days, I've just been like, I'm just going to press in because I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do but to press in because the word of God is true. It is inerrant. And it says, if you seek me, you will find me.
Amen.
And I am going to stand on that. And it is true. I did not want to. I was mad. I'm sad. I don't want to do this, but I know I have to because if I don't, I'm going to die. So I pressed in, and guess what? He met me there. He met me there. He will meet you there. He will meet me there again. He is so mad crazy for us that we forget how crazy in love he is with us. I don't think we can wrap our minds around that kind of love and that kind of passion that he has for us because we can't do it. We can't do it. He chose to have us in this earth. He chose us. He didn't have to make us. He didn't have to do anything. And the care that he made us with. Our fingerprints are all different. Matthew 10 says he knows the hairs on your head. How many did he have to keep up with this morning after you brushed your hair? I mean, he is so interested and intent in us that he held back nothing, including his only child, to reconcile us to him. That's what this season is about. And if we don't press into him, if we don't lean into him, we are basically saying Christmas was not a gift that I can use. And it was a
Amen.
gift for all of us. That is the gift of Christmas. Not what's under the tree, not the fact that you sang a solo at church, not the fact that you got the elf moved every day, which psychotic came up with that idea. But you know what I mean? That is Christmas. Press into God. And because of Christmas, we can. And he meets us there every time.
Well, and something that I want to point out is we've talked in here before about how none of us asks for help.
Yeah.
Right.
To get everything you said is so important, Tracy, but I want to go back to that part about ask for help, because that's something none of the three of us likes to do or
Right.
will do. Or if one of us says, "Hey, can I do something for you?" It's like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Someone who commented a few minutes ago, my friend Willie Cox from Southside Baptist Church, he is such an amazing person, and he has lost more family members, killed on the streets of Jackson, sick, that kind of thing. He has had so much tragedy and loss in his life, but our church would fall apart without Willie, and it's because it's almost like it feels like sometimes he uses that grief and that beauty that comes from that grief to love others out loud and to serve and to just uphold all of us. And we're a small inner city church, and there's a lot of pain, and we're all broken there. And Willie is as much or more, he's dealt with the grief of loss than all of us. But still, when you see him, he's got a big smile, he's got a hug for everybody. And I feel like we need to ask for that help, but we also need to look at people like Willie, and we need to learn to be that. Because I know that when I hurt, I pull in. So at Christmas time, it's
Same.
real easy for me to work, and not think about anything else that's going on.
I'm on vacation this week.
Yeah.
I'm on vacation. I have been at the office every day
Every
for
day.
8 hours or more.
But
Every
you're on
day.
vacation.
I'm on vacation. I'm on vacation
Wow.
this week.
Well, and it sounds like your friend Willie has the gift of presence. He's got the ministry of presence.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps that's what we can concentrate on for those that we know are hurting or are alone or they're just not feeling it. It's just to have the ministry of presence.
Yeah.
You don't have to say anything, but just the fact that you're there and, hey, I'm thinking about you or I'm praying for you. Perhaps that is the gift. It might be the only gift that we can give.
Well, and Barbie, right after Dad died, you called me and you said, "I'm going to bring you some food." And you did, and it was amazing. And the thing is, what I've learned in these last 3 weeks since I lost my dad is saying, "Hey, can I help you?" sometimes doesn't do it.
Right.
But the people that have been willing to sit with me in it, to be present,
Mm-hmm.
to, I made you dinner, not, "Hey, do you want something?" but like, "I made you dinner and I'm bringing it to you."
Yeah.
Or, "I'm taking you to lunch," or "Just sit down, let's chat." It's that I value you enough to be here with you, to spend time with you or on you. And at Christmas time, when there's so much hurt, when there's so much pain, when you're so afraid of what it's going to look like this year that it didn't look like last year, like you and I have, Tracy,
Yeah.
it's that feeling of like, just to know somebody is there with you, and it's, I have you. That bond that is stronger than a brother. I'm here with you. And, what is the verse about, a cord of 3 strands does not break. I feel like that's what we have in this group. But just the knowledge that somebody is in this fight with you at a time like this when the rest of the world is joyful and you may be just absolutely just heartbroken.
Yeah. So we know that Jesus, it was the ultimate present
Yeah.
at Christmas. And perhaps that's what we can do is be someone else's ministry of presence in being with them during a difficult time. Speaking of someone that we want to say thank you to, that helps make this Y'all Listen Here podcast possible.
Yeah, there are friends at Complete Exteriors. Look, I know you got a lot of choices when it comes to making sure that you're taken care of, that your family's taken care of. And whoever you decide to go with, why don't you just give them a call and get a quote? They're family-owned, roof leaks, roof damage, storms, debris. I know this time of year when all the leaves are falling and everything, you realize you look up in your tree and you're like, you know what? That doesn't look quite so good. And the first storm that blows through in April, I'm going to have an issue. So you probably better check. Call them and just see what they're about. They were established in 2007. They're your hometown roofing contractor, residential, commercial. They can do it all. 601-326-2755. 601-326-2755. Or you can go online to CompleteExteriorsMS.com.
Gosh, Tracy, you do that like you're on the radio or something.
I don't know. I've done a few. A couple.
Well, we love Complete
We
Exteriors,
do.
so thank you for doing that. By the way, they have offices in Pearl, Hattiesburg, and the coast.
Okay, so
Yep.
cover Mississippi. Were
Yeah.
they the roofers that had the gorilla?
Yes, they are.
Okay, I
Yep.
thought they had a gorilla out by Highway 80.
Yes.
I don't know if they'll bring the gorilla to your house to do the roofing thing. You may could ask. I don't
You
know.
might could ask.
There might be an extra fee.
Could
to have
be.
the gorilla show up.
Gorilla thing.
Right.
Well, we certainly appreciate them. And I want to make it very clear that the tears that
Mhm.
we all have, that you have just shared, Tracy, and that you, Therese, have had, it's not a sign of faithlessness.
Right.
No.
Because many times we bring that guilt, we bring that condemnation on us. Like, why am I crying? Why am I
Yeah.
crying? This is
Yeah.
supposed to be happy. And we can start feeling that guilty feeling, like this, everybody else is happy. Why aren't I happy? I did something really simple a few weeks ago. My oldest was in a parade and, wanted to go and see it and take photos and take video and everything. And I stood there on the side of the road where the parade was passing by. It was actually the Madison the City parade. And I cried through the whole parade. The bands coming down, walking, the cars, the antique cars, driving through.
Yeah.
Why am I crying? Why am I crying? But all of a sudden, I just had this moment of thinking how it must be for the Lord to watch how everybody is celebrating his birthday
Yeah.
over the whole world.
Mhm.
And it was that feeling that you were talking about, Therese, at the very beginning, where your heart is just so full of gratitude that even through any sadness that you may feel, you're like, this is big.
Mhm.
Like, he came to save me. He came to save you. He picked us before we were even thought about.
Yeah,
That's big.
it's huge.
One of my dad's things that he would always say, especially, like after we lost mom, he said it a lot more, but he talked about how we're all just walking each other home.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, I love
This is
that.
perfect.
and so in the slideshow that we had at the funeral, the last photo I used was one I took of he and mom when we were in Kentucky and they were on this path and they were walking away from me. And so that to me, while everybody in the congregation probably didn't know what that was about, to me, that was them walking each other home.
Yeah.
And the other day online, I reposted it on my Facebook. It was talking about a guy that took pictures all the time of guys that hit walk-off home runs. So they're
Yes.
running around that third base, and you've got the whole team waiting for them at home plate.
Yeah.
And he said he did this because he figures that's what heaven's like. Like
Yeah.
we're headed that way, and everyone's there cheering us on, waiting to high-five us as we come in. And to me, this is going to sound cheesy, and I'm going to cry. That is the joy of
Yeah.
this time of year.
Yeah.
Because this time of year happened, sad, happy, indifferent, because we experience this every year. And maybe you want to say it's commercialized, and maybe you want to say it's not real, or it should have been in the spring, or whatever. But the fact that Jesus was born, and that's what we celebrate, means that we have that moment where we're rounding third base and we're headed home, and everyone we love is waiting to greet us there. And to me, that's really significant right now,
Yeah, this time of the year kind of brings an introspective from the standpoint of, why can't I be happy? Why am I the one always getting the gifts and rushing around? Why am I always the one cooking? Why can't somebody cook for me? Why can't somebody stress out about what present they're going to give me? Because when you're sad, when you're dealing with grief, or you're just not feeling the season, many times that's what we do is, why can't I be happy? And that's where I've had to find some type of a way that what you just said a few minutes ago, Therese, about your friend Willie Cox, who is, while his heart has been broken over the years through various and sundry things, he's always ministering to someone else. And to my mind, it's coming about Judas and Jesus. His good friend completely betrays him. And Jesus could have walked away being mad, hurt, completely bummed out that that's how Judas acted and said, "You know what? I don't trust anybody from here on out.
Yeah.
I don't trust anybody." And he could put that guard up that we as humans are known to give. But instead, he continued to minister to others to the point at which he's on the cross and he's ministering to the thief. So if Jesus would have taken that thought of, "I'm done, nobody's ever going to hurt me again," like Judas did, he would have not had that ministry of presence
Yeah.
to the thief. And that's what's coming to my mind right now. So when we are dealing with the sadness and the grief, or just not feeling the happiness and the joy of Christmas, perhaps that's one way that we could do that, is that we could find someone else to minister to. And it doesn't have to be anything big.
Well, and what's the verse where it talks about, and I've read it before, I think even on this podcast, I've read it out loud somewhere, but where it talks about because of the joy that was before him, he did what he did.
The joy that was before him.
Right. He went to the cross because of the joy that was before him. For him, that joy was making sure that we didn't spend eternity separated from him. And I feel like, and it's real easy for us to sit in here with our best friends and talk about, I know we're all so sad, but there's joy. I know that to a lot of our listeners, it's like, yeah, girls, that's cute.
I always say James was having a good day when he wrote "Count It All Joy." He was having a good day.
Yeah. And we're going to walk out of here. And as soon as we do, the devil's going to hit us in the face at the door. And it's going to be like, yeah, y'all did good. But guess what? Now you're sad again. But the fact is, in reality, like I said, here, this is a bad dream. In the real reality that exists, that joy lies before us. And at a time like this, and at any time, I feel like it's so important, because I've just talked to about, 100 people in the last week that loved my dad and who could tell me what a good man he was and how much integrity he had and how he cared about others and that he couldn't carry a tune in a bucket and things like that. But overwhelmingly, it was all good. And it reminded me of a sermon that I heard years ago at Second Presbyterian Church in Memphis. A pastor named Sandy Wilson talked about living so that you can die well. And he was talking about some of the martyrs, about Stephen and some of the others, and that was a part of the sermon. But it makes me think, like, even in the sadness, even in the tragedy, someone like Willie, we all know somebody like this that has borne up underneath it because of who his Savior is. And that is living so that you can die well, so that whenever your time comes, people can look back at who you were and how you lived and say, maybe there were times that it was hard, maybe there were times that it was sad, but they always showed forth what God's character was. And I think that, to me, is the important part. It's okay to hurt. What is the difference is who you focus on in that hurt.
Yeah. That is so true. Parting thoughts, Sister Traci.
I was thinking when you were talking about, us hurting and being at this season in our life, that the enemy's so sneaky. It's like he takes a teaspoon of sand off the beach at a time, and then before you know it, you fall in a hole. And I feel like that's how it is with us emotionally, that sometimes it's just a little bit here, just a little bit here, just a little bit here, and then all of a sudden you're mad all the time, or you're reacting badly, or you have zero compassion for anybody. And you're like, where did this come from? But it was just like revealed at that time. But my parting thought is for Christmas, for this season, no matter where you are, no matter where you lack, there is more to fill you up. Just because you're empty in an area right now does not mean that it has to stay there. You can go to the one who lives and loves abundantly, and he will fill you up to the point of pressed down, shaken together, overflowing. No matter how many times you think that you're empty, there's always enough to fill you up. All you have to do is ask.
Ooh, good. Therese?
It's okay to hurt.
Yeah.
It's okay to isolate. It's okay to shut yourself in your house and cry for as long as you have to. But in that, never doubt that he is there with you, feeling that with you. He's the other set of footprints on the sand And when you only see one because you think you're alone, it's actually him carrying you. Never, ever forget that, especially at a time like this where it's so easy to get lost in the hurt.
And I think it just all comes back to him. It all comes back to Jesus. Thinking of Mary and Martha.
Yeah.
And
I want to be Mary. I'm not.
I
I'm not.
but what did she do? She stayed at the feet of Jesus. She worshiped him and just took in, just absorbed him. And if we can really, even through the sadness, even through the tears, just take the moments of just being in the moment and absorbing him. And if that is hopping in the car and going to drive to see some Christmas lights, or if that is going to your local church program, if that's standing on the side of the road and watching the Christmas parade go by, just stay in that moment.
And if it's laying face down on the floor, sobbing until there's dog hair in the back of your throat. I've
is
never done
very
that or anything,
specific.
obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, but then in that too, just know how much he loves you,
He does.
that you are surrounded and covered and comforted by that love if you'll let him.
Yeah, he does.
Amen. Well, what a great way to end our 10th episode and the end of the year, the end of 2024, the year of open doors.
Well, like I posted on Facebook, I want to see the factory warranty on 2025 before we get started.
Before we accept any terms
Let's
and
see
conditions.
those terms and conditions. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we can't wait for 2025 to be here and to start another episode with you. And of course, with all of you who are watching and listening to y'all listen here. We will see you next time.